All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today we're looking at a fascinating ancient Han Dynasty text, but honestly, it reads less like dry history and way more like a high-stakes political and psychological thriller. We're diving into a collection of decrees and chronicles concerning the Han princes, which were famously documented by ancient historians like Sima Qian and Chu Shaosun. It's essentially the ultimate story of extreme nepotism and toxic family dynamics. It's a timeless warning about power, and it feels incredibly modern in its understanding of human nature.
Imagine this for a second. What happens when an emperor can predict the exact downfall of his own bloodline? Can a ruler's deep strategic understanding of geography, local culture, and human character actually serve as a tragic prophecy? Well, as we'll see, giving your kids everything they could ever possibly want might just be the very thing that destroys them.
Section 1. Petitions for the Princes.
So Emperor Wu was the undisputed ruler, right? But even absolute monarchs face relentless lobbying from their own court, especially when it comes to royal succession and crowning his three young sons, Hong, Dan, and Shu. Look at how fast this whole thing escalates. In March, the Grand Marshal kicks it off, arguing the princes need titles. Emperor Wu immediately pushes back, basically saying, no, the boys are too young. But the court just won't let it go. By late March and into April, top officials are grouping together, throwing ancient Zhou dynasty precedents at the emperor, arguing that not crowning the princes disrupts the natural hierarchy. Finally, under this immense collective pressure, Emperor Wu relents in April. I absolutely love the emperor's grounded realism here. He is completely pushing back against the lofty, sycophantic rhetoric of his court. While his ministers are going on and on about divine right and royal dignity, Emperor Wu is essentially saying, guys, they are just kids. He knows they haven't been properly educated, they haven't been tested. He's deeply, deeply skeptical about handing immense regional power to unproven children. And spoiler alert, that skepticism is going to prove devastatingly accurate.
Section 2. Crafting Tailored Imperial Decrees. Okay, so the emperor agrees to grant these kingdoms, but then he delivers an absolute masterclass in tailored statecraft. He doesn't just hand over titles, he turns these simple land grants into profound behavioral tests for his sons. For example, Prince Hong's mother, Lady Wang, was asked where she wanted her son to rule. She ambitiously asks for the city of Luoyang. The emperor flatly refuses. He points out that Luoyang contains massive armories and granaries. It's a major strategic choke point of the entire empire. He's literally saying, anywhere but Luoyang. He proved right then and there that he viewed these royal appointments through a strictly strategic military lens. Nobody gets the keys to the empire's greatest fortress just because of nepotism. No way.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. It's like a giant puzzle. Notice how each son received a specific color of earth from the imperial altar that perfectly matched the unique geography and cultural traits of their new kingdom. According to ancient tradition, a newly minted king was given a clod of dirt from the central altar to take back to his territory. Prince Hong goes east to Qi, taking blue earth to a wealthy but deceptive coastal region. Prince Dan heads north to Yan, taking black earth to a harsh, reckless borderland. And Prince Su, he goes south to Guangling, taking red earth to a wealthy, light-hearted region packed with copper and salt. Emperor Wu packed each of his official decrees with highly specific, almost psychic warnings tailored directly to the temptations of those specific regions. But the million-dollar question we have to ask ourselves is, did the boys actually listen to their father's carefully crafted advice?
Section 3. The Fate of Kai.
Let's start by tracking the first son, Prince Hong. He's sent out east to the wealthy but famously deceptive coastal region of Qi. Now, the emperor knew the people of Qi were cunning and didn't naturally follow traditional rules of good behavior. So he explicitly warned Hong to carefully maintain his inner discipline against the deceptive influences of his new home. He essentially told his son, do not let the locals make you lazy and hold tight to simple, honest governance. He was basically warning him not to let the luxury and the tricksters of the coast soften him up. Well, to Hong's credit, he actually listened. The historical text reveals that while Hong's life ended prematurely and his state was eventually abolished because he had no heir, he successfully navigated the treacherous political waters of Qi. He avoided his father's warnings of misconduct and kept his innocence. Unfortunately, biology, not geography, was his ultimate undoing.
Section 4. Rebellions. Yan and Guangling.
Now, brace yourselves, because the narrative shifts drastically with the remaining two brothers. Their choices tragically validated their father's darkest fears. This brilliantly illustrates the irony. Prince Dan of Yan did exactly what his father explicitly ordered him not to do.
Sent to the harsh northern border, the emperor warned Dan do not harbor resentment. Why? Because the northern frontier breeds tough, aggressive people, and the emperor knew Dan's pride would chafe at being so far from the capital. And sure enough, years later when Dan wasn't named the ultimate heir to the empire, what happens? He lets resentment completely consume him. He allies with other disgruntled nobles and plots a treacherous rebellion.
And down in the wealthy south, Prince Shu of Guangling is following a similarly doomed path, indulging in the exact vices the emperor warned him about. The emperor knew the southern regions were incredibly rich, and the culture was dangerously light-hearted and carefree. He specifically told Shu, do not be idle, and do not use your immense wealth to buy unearned popularity. So what does Shu do? He uses his massive fortunes to act like a shadow emperor, eventually conspiring with the king of Chu to launch a rebellion of his very own.
Usually treason is a one-way ticket, but these were royal bloodlines. Despite immense royal leniency, the throne initially pardoned both princes or turned a blind eye just because of family ties. Both Dan and Xiao just couldn't overcome their regional influences and personal flaws. They just didn't learn their lesson. They plotted a rebellion a second time, and ultimately the law had to come down. Both were forced to commit suicide and the whole shebang. Their kingdoms, everything, was abolished.
Section 5. Geography, Power, and Destiny. So how were these imperial warnings so terrifyingly accurate? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the ancient Chinese concept of geographical destiny that underpins this entire historical document. Commentators like Sima Xian and Chu Shaosan pointed out that sending a prince to a specific region wasn't just a political gift, it was a grueling test of character against the environment. The emperor's decrees weren't just generic advice. They factored in whether the land itself was hard or soft and whether the local culture was heavy or light. The emperor possessed this incredible, far-reaching foresight. He knew exactly how a specific boy's flaws would interact with a specific region's temptations.
Listen to this ancient source proverb. White sand in mud is black with it. It hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the ancient belief that the environment acts as the ultimate corrupting or guiding force on a person's behavior. If you take a flawed, inexperienced young prince and drop him into a region teeming with wealth, deception, or martial aggression, the environment is going to seep right into him. The mud will turn the sand black. It's the ancient equivalent of the nature versus nurture debate, proving that even a royal upbringing is absolutely no match for a toxic environment. The emperor knew this, he tried to warn them, but human nature and environmental influence ultimately won out.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought directly from the ancient text to ponder. Love them and you wish them wealth. Keep them close and you wish them nobility. It highlights the ultimate, often tragic, double-edged sword of royal nepotism. The ministers forced the emperor to grant his sons wealth and nobility out of supposed love and duty. But in doing so, they handed those boys the very tools and territories that would guarantee their destruction. It really makes you wonder. Sometimes, is the greatest act of love actually denying someone the power they just aren't ready to hold?